Hey Scorpio, thanks for joining me. This is your intuitive astrology report from CatalystEnergies. My name's Dee. Thanks for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here and that you made it. Oh, Scorpios, because things might be changing for you based on this reading and some of the things that I'm looking at. So this reading is for the full moon that's occurring on February 8th, 2020, or February 9th, 2020, depending on where you are in the world. And I am going to link a video at the end of this to the actual astrological report that I did for the full moon that goes into way more detail about the aspects and the transits and the astrological aspect of the full moon in a more generalized sense. This video is meant to not only narrow in a little bit more specifically for each sign, but also to use the tools to give intuitive guidance as well to what this full moon might mean. And so what that ends up doing is almost also to kind of narrowing the audience in some ways, just because then we're starting to get into messages that have to do with the specific sign and what's going on astrologically. So for Scorpio, what we're looking at for the full moon is an opposition between the sun and the moon. The sun in Aquarius in the 4th house and the moon in Leo in the 10th house. So the personal power of Cancer, where you feel personally power, where you feel personally rooted into yourself, the place where you feel emotionally vulnerable in order to express yourself. And Capricorn, Leo in the 10th house, which is your institutional power. It's your career, it's your public persona, it's the legacy that you leave behind. And so very often it's considered the house of the career, because it's kind of the, what are you building for everybody, and where is your institutionalized power? That's what Capricorn is. And so for Scorpio specifically, we're looking at the personal power for Scorpio coming from a very keen and innovative, rebellious intellect, understanding a wider perspective on things and seeing the collective consciousness as a whole is where you feel powerful, Scorpio. And then your public persona is very much about being the center stage. I mean, the career for Scorpios is them being very Leo-like, which is being very much out in front and expressing and sharing themselves. And so Scorpio, as the nature of who you are, being very very deep, very emotional, very intense, very willing to investigate the deeper, darker places, being willing to be that person. How your institutionalized power has to do with you sharing who you are out in the world, and that's what gives you, or allows you to leave a legacy. It's part of what you are, what you're providing for the community is this person that's willing to be the star of the show. Essentially Leos is when we open our hearts. And that is part, and for Scorpio, that's, part of how what the career that you have, what is it that you're bringing to the table in this lifetime. And so the opposition here is the personal power we get from within in Cancer, and in Capricorn, it's the power we get from what we've been able to create. And so, the reading here for Scorpio really suggests a shift, a turn of the wheel of fortune. Obviously, I got the Wheel of Fortune as the first card. There's going to be a journey, either an internalized emotional journey, an actual journey over water, but there's going to be a change in fortune. And, it's interesting that we have now Chiron and Venus in the, about to meet each other in the 6th house for Scorpio, which has to do with how you're cultivating your inner mastery on a daily basis. Like, what are your routines and your habits in a very material way, like analyzing where everything is supposed to go in a very material way in order to actually create and gather the resources that you need to bear the fruit for the next cycle. And with Chiron being here for a while, it's really pointing to the wound that Scorpios feel about approaching this from a very action-oriented and ambitious perspective of moving forward. And, the potential of creation is really how Scorpios are, the focus where they're putting their focus on their daily. So it's just being action oriented, you know, like Mars is the ruler of Aries, but was also the ruler of Scorpio as well. So there's a lot of Mars energy when it comes to what are you doing on a daily basis. Not very grounded necessarily, because you know, the sixth house is an earth-based house, but for Scorpios that's okay, because there's an intensity and there's an ambition and there's a courage that goes along with building this part of yourself. But there's a deep wounding here about doing that, Scorpios. And then as Venus meets up, it's going to make that very real and make it very obvious, like what doesn't feel good about that. And even allow us to create something or to actualize something in the real world that will make a major shift. And that's why this Wheel of Fortune makes a lot of sense, because it's the turning of a wheel changes the position of everything. Absolutely. Now the other card is for Scorpio rising, sun and moon, is the Two of Wands reversed. Now the Two of Wands is early Aries. It's, you know, he's got the world in his hands. He's looking out between, you know, it's the action, it's the potential energy starting to like come into its first understanding, or its first moment of like realization of like all the potential that's out there. Look what everything that I can do. Reversed, you know, this could be an internalized process. It also could be, you know, this Wheel of Fortune, this shift in energy, this journey that you may be going on, whatever that is, may have, you know, turned you around in some way. It may feel like, oh no, I can't actually get this done, or oh, there's not as much potential as I thought, especially with Venus lining up with Chiron and really like showing us in a very material way what it is that like this wounding is really about. And for Scorpio, it really has to do with like, what are you building in your everyday life? You know, what are the things that you're doing in everyday life and how you're doing it that's making you the master that'll eventually come around and be the Leo, you know, as your career, as, you know, the star of the show. So something is shifting, and it's going to shift in a way that's going to create a change that might not even be recognizable. Now, as we go on through the reading, we also, again, Seven of Roses, the journey, you know, and this is from an emotional standpoint, but it's still a journey. And then you have its 14 is the initiation in the Count Saint Germain. So 14 is 7 times 2, but it's also reversed. And so I feel like that there is going to be, there's going to be a journey, and this is making it even more so like this is an initiation into your divine order. But I think Scorpio is really going to struggle and have some resistance to it, because there is a focus on, you know, your personal power being very, very intellectual, very innovative, very futuristic, very outside the box and unique and original. This is where your power is, and I think this is where Scorpio could really stand to pay attention to the sun right now. It seems to me that there's going to be change that is going to require you to really be more compassionate with yourself and be more compassionate and forgiving to everybody else involved in the situation, but mostly yourself. That's what it feels like, is that there's going to be a big shift, and it's going to seem like it's throwing you off, and there's going to be a journey you have to go on, some sort of journey you have to go on in order to get to this point of initiation that you're not going to get quite to yet, and you have to be really easy on yourself. And Mercury is now coming into Pisces, which is your 5th house, how you express yourself, you know, what opens your heart. And what opens the heart of Scorpio is forgiveness and compassion. And so Mercury is coming here and is really gonna, this is like the messages you're gonna get, and this is your language. This is how you communicate and understand the world around you, is through this compassion and forgiveness and this emotional connection. You are a Scorpio. It's an emotional sign. So be easy on yourself, especially when Mercury goes retrograde. It's going to become more obvious that this language is going to be important. But the real work seems like it's going to come into, you know, the potential for creating a routine or actual structural reality within yourself that allows you to come into mastery. And so for Scorpio, your opposition is Taurus. That's your 7th house. That's you show up in relationship, which is a solid, stable, material, non-moving individual. And Uranus is here now, and it's this collective awakening of this that is not necessarily the most comfortable from a personal ego perspective. And so this is why the forgiveness and compassion piece is going to be so important for Scorpio, because you don't see it. I don't think Scorpio really sees how what's happening with Uranus, this great awakening in a very material way, is actually part of your own initiation into whatever your spiritual order is, whatever your mission is. You know, it doesn't matter what your belief system is. It doesn't, you know, it's like what you are here to do, the meaning of your life, and the group that you're supposed to be part of. Absolutely. Uranus has been changing it and is about to move into a new degree with this full moon, which is going to change the resonance completely. And you can get all that information in the full moon video that I've already posted that's purely astrological. But for Scorpios, it feels like that the wounding around how you cultivate your inner master in order to show up fully in relationship is being, not only is Chiron showing you the wound around that, around the how you use potential to create, and how ambitious you are. Venus is coming along and wanting to express that and wanting to find a way to do something about it. Absolutely. It's just going to feel a little off. It's going to feel like this shift in this journey isn't exactly what you, it doesn't make, you're not going to feel, it's potentially that you're not going to feel like that you have as many opportunities and potential as you actually do. But it's just a readjustment. And so the compassion and forgiveness piece is really important, and I would look towards Mercury in order to get a better understanding and know that a journey is coming, and know that it's a shift in the winds, honestly, with this Wheel of Fortune that's going to really show you where your personal power is. So always look to the sun, because it's really going to show you where your power resides internally, which is in your mind and your ability to be innovative and outside of the box and look towards the future and see the vaster picture, and to tap into Uranus, you know, awakening everybody right now in a very real and material way. And you can be that for other people, Scorpio, absolutely. And be compassionate to other people as well, because you're not the only one who's changing. We're all changing right now, and Scorpios have a tendency to be like so intense and think that nobody understands them or what's going on. So also, you know, apply that forgiveness to others as well. You know, your language is not how you communicate it, you know, listen, but also how you speak to others. And so really tap into that right now, because we're all going through it. But Scorpio for sure is really going to feel the opposition between where their power is and where their institutional power is. And it's going to be really tempting to align with that moon and just want to be on center stage. And that'll be good, because that is kind of your career, Scorpio. That is what you're here to leave a legacy with, is to, you know, share who you are. But just realize that when things are changing and, you know, there's a move happening, that it's really for this initiation to like a new, into your spiritual order, into your mission. And that it's not necessarily that, you know, you're just, your potential, your viewpoint of potential is just changing, right? So, and to be easy on yourself. Scorpio, it's gonna be okay. Just, I would, you know, compassion and forgiveness. Mercury is coming, you know, and you have Neptune here too. Like, he's not going anywhere in this zone of your communication. So you certainly can be tapping more into the compassion, forgiveness, you know, unity aspect more than the confusing and, you know, like just being elusive and not very clear about things. That could happen too. But I don't think, you know, I think that Scorpio would be better served just being the conveyor of compassion and forgiveness right now for everybody. Because you do understand what's going on. You have deeper insight than most when you have a Scorpio sun, moon, or rising. So we're all in it together. And Scorpio is going to be seeing that for sure more than others right now. So The description box below has everything you need. Links to my daily astrology updates on my blog, my Facebook page, which is the hub of everything, and how you can book a reading with me. My email address is in the description box below if you just want to reach out privately and just, reach out, say hi, want to book a reading, I have a question, I have a concern, I'd love to connect. And yeah, there's going to be a connection. There's going to be a link at the end of this video for the actual astrology portion of the full moon. So that's the full astrological rundown of the full moon. Scorpio, we're on a journey. This is for the initiation of your mission, and just kind of roll with it. You know what I mean? Don't try to run backwards on the spinning wheel, because you'll just get nowhere. And just take it easy on yourself, Scorpio. Thanks for joining me. I really, really so appreciate you being here. And I'll see you next time. Bye.